Halloween is just around the corner, and you know what that means. I gotta make another chair gameplay. And close out of some tabs. I decided to do this chair gameplay in the style of a classical chair gameplay. A little throwback, a little classic doing. I can't close out on that one. A little classic piece. Now, I bet you recognize this guy with his little spinning around. That's right, he's from the video A New Blender 2.8. Only difference is I gave him a schnoz and a buddy. Got a blue one and an orange one because they contrast. If you think either of these characters represents you, they don't. Blue and orange are just contrasting colors. In this chair gameplay, I thought I would put a little focus on character interaction, because what's animation whenever you just have one person? So I have 3 scenes set up here. Rather, I have 2 scenes in the start of one scene, because I didn't get it finished, and I really think I'm not going to. And they're all about these characters interacting, which is, how neat is that? It's pretty neat. Why am I in pose mode? I shouldn't be in pose mode. Yeah, okay, so here's the first one. I'm going to play it, and it's going to loop forever and ever and ever. And we're just going to keep talking about it until I want to move on to the next one. Your focus should be up here in the top left screen. As you can see, it's an animation of the blue guy shoving over the orange guy. There's actually a lot going on in here, and as you can see, I have highlighted the blue guy's skeleton. This is his skeleton, what makes him move on the inside. This is what all people look like on the inside. It's pretty scary if you think about it. I mean, look, every single person just looks like this. That's all you are. Everything else is a cosmetic. It's terrible. Like, look, here's one pose. This is the I'm about to push you pose. And then I had him go into the I'm pushing you pose like this. Or maybe it was like this. I don't know. I'm not sure. It was this one. You're going to notice that his arms spring back and forth a little bit. Now, I had to work extra hard to get them to do that by it. I have no idea what I just did. Oh, no. Great. Go back into... Great. I can just... Nope. Okay, I'm going to have to do some wizardry here. I feel like I learned how to do this somewhere. Yeah, Blender's a cool program. You should use it. You're going to notice that none of this is rendered. And, like, it doesn't look that great. Because it's not rendered. I was just explaining this to you. To give you a little taste of what it would look like if it was rendered, if they calculated all the light, then, I'm here. Just look over here into the top left screen. You might not be able to see my mouse. OBS handles it weird. Go put it into rendered mode after I pause it, because my computer will crash if I try to render and play it at the same time. I put very little effort into arranging the lights in a good way, so it doesn't look good. That thing that orange guy has in his hand, he's not supposed to have that in his hand. I just added it in the second scene, and I didn't ever take it out, because why should I? Nobody's going to look at this rendered. With a brand new heckin' Blender 2.8, you can now watch rendered scenes in real time, which is absolutely whacked out. Another thing you're going to notice is that when this orange guy falls, he falls in denial of physics, which isn't something you're going to notice if you're looking at the screen in the top left. But you're going to notice it if you're looking here in dev view, which I've taken you into out of the kindness of my own heart. The reason he doesn't look realistic is because he doesn't have any physics. I put him on like frame by frame, and that's why he looks like that. I don't think I ever talked about the arms. All right, so scene 2. Where is it? How do I get to it? I have these markers placed down. They don't really help a whole lot. 622. Boop. Yeah, these really funny scene transitions right between the scenes. I think it's great. I think it's a hoot. Like, it's just 10 frames of everybody sliding into their new positions. Like, nobody's even going to look over here. So what's it matter? All right, keep your eye on top left, because I do not have the camera even focused. This is what we all look like on the inside, all bent out of shape. You know, it's just a little scene about, like, two detective. I have this zoomed in a little too far. Yeah, you guys missed out on a lot that you could have been seeing. It's two detective guys, right? And one of them is looking at a clue. That's the orange guy over there on the left. And the other one has a clue on his belt. Or something. It's attached to his back. It looks like this whenever you play it. It looks like this whenever you play it. This is the one that I actually spent the most time on, because I still don't know how to animate, but I'm trying my best. What I'd really like to draw your attention to are these objects that they're holding. I'm not going to. If you want if you want, you can spend all your time just looking at them and analyzing them, and tell yourself what's cool about them. It's not my job; it's yours. What you're extra going to notice, though, is that the object the orange guy has been holding this whole time, he sets it down on the ground. And he doesn't, even though he has it previously. So yeah, if you can't really understand what's going on in the scene right here, we got the blue guy who is reaching around for this black object on his belt, on his back, on his hip. And he beckons over, he calls over to the orange guy, who turns his head around, and upon seeing that he has a new clue, he straightens up a little bit, and then he's like, oh, I want to hold on to that. So he sets his own object down. Is in slow mode, by the way, and looks back up towards the guy who he sees is throwing this very valuable object. It's clearly valuable, so he has to reach over and grab it out of midair. And then he brings it to himself to see if it's okay. It is okay. Snaps his head up to the blue guy, who is scratching himself, and the orange guy says, "What the heck? Why did you do that?" And that's that scene. Why are there more frames over here? You're not supposed to see these. Yeah, in this scene, the hardest thing to do was to get the objects to, synchronize with the hands. I was thinking about just putting them there one frame at a time, and that's what I did do until I didn't do it, because I found that the easy way to do it. I think I'll turn that off now. Boop. That little button right there. You wouldn't believe how long it took me to find that button. I couldn't make any chair gameplays until I found that button, and hey, it was right there the whole time in the object menu, even though I feel like it's a skeleton-specific objects button. So, you'd expect it to be in the skeleton tab, but no, it's in the object tab. I don't get it. So here's how this works. As you can see, we have it right here, and he reaches down for it, and he reaches down for it. There you go. And he touches it. And it just kind of snaps into his hand because he doesn't have any fingers, so it's kind of supposed to look like this, but also kind of supposed to look better. If we go over here into the Constraints tab, you see what I did. Of course you see it now, because I had a constraint. And I apparently also did a second thing, which I don't understand. Yeah, I don't know if you see how these numbers are changing. I don't know what I did. Okay, well, basically in this program you can glue an object to a different object. So I glued this object to Blue Guy's hand bone. Allow me to show you his hand bone. There it is. Hold on. Why did I deselect it? Allow me to show you his hand bone. There it is. That's his hand bone. That's the bone you move to move his hand. Allow me to demonstrate. You're going to notice that the object is not moving with the hand. That's because I put on a temporary glue, a temporary parenting, so that it doesn't go on until the next frame. This one. Maybe this one. See, now that it's the next frame, the object is properly glued to the hand, so we can move it about at our own amusement and entertainment, and those are the same thing, but nonetheless, we can move it around, because it's a stupid object attached to a hand, and we're a hand. So, what we say goes. I don't really have a point I'm trying to make. So needless to say, that made it very, very easy as opposed to very, very hard. And I'm sure you can imagine that once I made it easy, I did it everywhere. I did the exact same thing to this other object. Got to get out of pose mode. I did the exact same thing to this other object. Same thing to this other object. There we go. Yep. Heckin' has the same property as the first one in the Constraints tab that I would like to show you now. Look at it. Except it only has 1 as opposed to the blue's 2. The main difference is nobody grabs it in the second time. Hey, remember how I said the hardest part of this was getting the guys to hold the thing? I would like to now redact that statement and say the hardest part was getting them to do the throw. And I know the throw looks janky and bad, but that's because throwing stuff is hard. I had to take a physical video of someone throwing something in order for me to understand how a person moves when they throw something. And even then, I didn't get it entirely right. Here's what I did. I like to draw your eyes over to this piece of yellow over here on the right. See that yellow on the right, like middle? Right. Well, I'm going to draw your attention to another piece of... Oh, well, there's no more yellow. Right here, I made it remember that it's glued to the guy's hand. And then right here, I said, forget that. You're no longer glued to the guy's hand. You can tell because it rotates very inconceivably. There's not a possible way it could rotate like this in 1/24th of a second. This is in 24 frames per second, by the way. Not the video. The video's in 30 frames per second because OBS can't handle my computer at 60 frames per second. Or rather, my computer can't handle OBS. After that, it was a simple matter of taking the cube here and moving it over there. Oh, I see you noticed more yellow down in the bottom right, now in the right middle. That's a sign of another keyframe. And you're going to notice it doesn't move so inconceivably here. That is because I did a very smart thing. I'm not even going to explain the process to you. It was very smart. Okay, you see, I put the object into this guy's hand without setting the parenting. The influence was 1. So you see, whenever the influence is supposed to be 1, it looks right here and it's in the guy's hand as usual and as regular. But whenever the influence is 0, it's down in the floor. That doesn't make any sense, but that's the way Blender works. So what I did was I set a keyframe. I put it into his hand like this with 0 influence. Then I went to the frame before, this one, and I locked all of its settings without changing any of them. And then I went back to the first frame and I set the influence up to 1. So that would put it like down there, up in the sky or something. And then I put it into his hand again in the exact same position that it was before. Meaning the throw doesn't look weird going into his hand. What the heck? I've taken a pretty long time explaining this second scene because the third scene is so short that I didn't even finish it. Check it. Top left. Yeah, that's all I have. That's it. I don't even have, like, finished head movements. He just waves his arm. That's all there is. Arm wave, orange guy head kind of move. The camera's not even in exactly the right place. And frankly, I think I'm not going to finish it. Because I already have this much of the video, and maybe that's just enough for me. Maybe what people don't want is a good episode of chair gameplay, but just another episode of chair gameplay. This is Noah, playing chair, learning how to do character interactions. And I'll be signing off. Open up OBS and look at all the infinite windows. It still even runs at 30 frames per second, sort of.